you. I think I'm good here. Can you hear me? Can you hear me? Can everyone hear me okay?
Yeah.
I actually probably don't need a mic. I'm pretty loud, but that's okay. Hi, everyone. I am so excited to be here at Growth Day London from just down the 401 in Guelph. So a little bit of a trek to get here. Yay, Guelph. I heard some cheers. I love it. I love it. Oh, I got ahead of myself there. First of all, I want to thank Jerry for actually reaching out to me and asking me to come and speak at this amazing event. I would say I was creeping your last event on social media last year when it happened, and honestly, this is a dream of mine. I've been coaching now for about 5.5 years. I spent the first 3 years coaching, working within other organizations. So I was selling and coaching for other coaches. I was at seminars like this one that were run by those coaches, and I was sitting in the back of the room. And I remember being out at one of these seminars, I would say it was probably fall of 2023, and I was sitting there, I was like, I don't want to be at the back of the room anymore. I want to be on that stage. And that is where my vision of speaking began. Now, since that moment, since making several decisions from then until now, I have now had the opportunity of speaking in many rooms just like this one. But that didn't just happen overnight. That happened by consistently taking action on that vision, showing up when it felt very, very uncomfortable and when it was not convenient. So we all know now, I'm Kayleigh Kennedy. I am a self-sabotage coach. I built my business to its first 6-figure year in the most challenging year of my life. My daughter was born beginning of 2022. My son was diagnosed with leukemia August of 2022. He was 2 years old. I started my business during COVID with a baby at home, not knowing that a couple months later I would have a second baby on the way. I know what it's like to move before you feel ready. Okay, if I waited till I was ready, I wouldn't be in this room speaking to you, because the circumstances of my life over the past 5.5 years have not exactly been convenient to build a business. What makes me special about the work that I do is I like to blend, so you're going to hear a lot of the things that Jerry said actually in his presentation, because I like to blend the identity work, subconscious reprogramming, nervous system regulation and support. I think that is so, so important with strategy. Now, everyone in this room has had a circumstance happen, I don't want to say to you, but for you, okay? We've all had something. Life has thrown us a curveball that we didn't expect at some point in our lives. We can choose how we move through those curveballs. Now, from taking your vision to action, you're going to be moving through the turmoil, the turbulence, right? It's not always smooth sailing. I'm actually thinking of a meme that I should have put in this slideshow right now. I don't know if anyone's ever seen the idea of, the direction to success being this long straight line. It's this line that's curvy. There's ups and downs. You're spinning. You're dropping up. Oh, you go down before you go up, right? That is the normal progression to success. But what we want is that nice, straight, easy, smooth sailing. Now, we can choose to go through that journey with ease, but that doesn't mean it gets to be easy. Okay, I want to distinguish those differences. Ease is a choice, but it's going to be hard. The work that I do is I help people rewire their BS. I laughed actually when Jerry said that, because I'm currently, I met with someone about 2 weeks ago, and one of my taglines is, you cannot outperform your BS. And that is your belief system, and it's also the other. And this guy I met with, he actually said, you should trademark that. That's brilliant. And then I heard Jerry say it, and I was like, I better talk to my lawyers and get that trademarked right away. I help people rewire their BS so that they can rise in a sustainable way, because life is always going to be happening for us. I had I can't look at that picture, I'm gonna get emotional. I had every reason to stop. Every reason to stop. My son was diagnosed August of 2022 with leukemia. He underwent 24 and a half months of intense chemotherapy. We spent over 100 nights at McMaster Hospital, admitted. We had turbulence, ups and downs, more than I can even think of. Now doing this all with my daughter was 6 months old when my son was diagnosed. And being a new entrepreneur. I started my business in 2021. In 2022, oddly enough, as my daughter was born, my business started to take traction. And then, bam, there was the ball I never expected. Curveball I never expected. The thing about this is, we don't always get to decide what happens, but we always get to decide how we move through it. And what this journey actually taught me was that, and watching my son go through this journey, because he was the one who was really going through this, we can go through whatever life hands us with grace, and that is a choice. So throughout 2022 and 2023, I was working for another coaching company at the time, and in those 2 years, so 2023 was a very challenging year, on top of the already challenging year of 2022. I sold $1.37 million of coaching for the company that I used to work with. I'm not saying this to impress you, I'm saying this to impress upon you that if I can do that through the most challenging times of my life without losing myself, without losing the things that mattered the most to me, by putting my family first and learning how to move with more grace, more peace, more focus, right? How often do we get distracted? How often are we actually doing tasks that aren't moving the needle? If I can do that, you can do whatever it is that is in your mind that you want to take action on. I had every excuse to throw in the towel and quit, but I didn't. And I actually, because of that, my identity shifted so much in those 2 years that I actually decided in January of 2024, when my son was still going through cancer treatment, that I was gonna stop sitting at the back of the room and stand on stage as myself. And I quit my job as a coach, as a 6-figure coach, with a full roster of clients. That was a very challenging decision to build from the ground up. My daughter wasn't even 2 yet, and my son was still going through cancer treatment. Didn't really make sense to a lot of people, just like when I decided to not go back to my corporate job after my mat leave to start a business during COVID. Also didn't really make sense to a lot of people. We will always have our excuses, but it's a choice whether or not we listen to them and continue to listen to them. That's actually our power. So today I'm talking to you about taking your vision and moving it into action. I'm going to touch on vision and goals just a little bit here, because the truth is your vision, it's only your starting point. Now, the thing that kept me going and growing through the most challenging years of my life was that I had a vision that was bigger than me. It was a vision that I could not deny. It is a vision that I had created so much desire around that nothing was going to derail me from going after my vision. A big part of my vision is my family and my children. So when my son got sick, it actually didn't make sense for me to give up on my vision, because he is such a big part of my vision, and he still is to this day. I should probably say, after saying all of that, my son is now thriving. He has been out of cancer treatment for 21 months. We just had a checkup last week. And he is hitting all of the milestones with stride, and just, you know, continuing to impress and inspire me every day. It starts with vision. If you're going to take action on your vision when life is going to, because it's good, stuff is gonna happen, right? It's not gonna be smooth sailing. There are going to be bumps, there are going to be twists, there are going to be moments where you look at yourself in the mirror like, what have I got myself into? But if you're going to keep going on that vision, your vision has to be bigger than yourself, and it has to connect to your why and your purpose. I teach vision and goal setting in a different way than I think a lot of people that I've seen how, especially goal setting is taught. I actually believe that most people set the wrong goals. They set goals that they think they can achieve. Those goals aren't very inspiring. They're very logical goals. Okay, if I did this year, then I'm gonna, okay, I'll increase my performance by 5%. Like, you already know how to do that. It's not that exciting. Goals that inspire you, that move you, that you might not know how you're going to achieve them, those are the goals that are gonna keep you going when life lifes. Let's just say when life lifes, okay? Your vision is bigger than your goals. I actually used puzzles on this slide because I often use an analogy, and it's a puzzle analogy. Now, I love puzzles. I love getting on the floor, doing puzzles with my kids. I also love doing 1,000-piece puzzles myself. Without my kids, I find it very meditative, especially when they're not around. Now, when I'm doing a 1,000-piece puzzle, I don't just put all the pieces down and just pat them around and hope that they all fit in. I like to start with the edge pieces. I get the edge all in, and then I color coordinate. Okay, so I'm gonna do the dark blue skies on the left, the bright blue skies on the right. Let's start with the dark blue. So I'm, very methodical with how I'm doing my puzzle. I look at goals as your goals are a piece of that puzzle, and your puzzle, when it's all put together, is your vision. You're putting that puzzle together one piece at a time, right? You actually physically, if it's just you doing a puzzle, you cannot be putting 3 pieces together here and 3 pieces together there. You're working on a certain portion at a time. So each of your goals are a stepping stone to that bigger vision. So your vision is so important. You want to get really, really clear on the picture that is on the outside of that box. I'm going to share a story. One of my goals, one of my big goals is we love Lake Huron. Okay, we used to have a family friend who had a cottage just off the beach in Point Clark. I don't know, has anyone ever been to Point Clark? Love it, awesome, yes, love Point Clark. So, or not, that's okay. Anyway, one of my goals is to have a beachfront cottage in Point Clark. And a vision that I often went to, and I went to this vision all the time when my son was sick, was I would be sitting on the back porch, the waves in the distance, the sand there, sipping my morning coffee and watching my kids build a sandcastle in the sand. So that was my vision. And it was always, it was a couple years down the road. So my son was healthy, my daughter was thriving, all of those things, which they are now. And last year, we got the opportunity of going on a wish trip. And we went to the Nickelodeon Resort in Punta Cana so my son could hang out with the Paw Patrol and Ninja Turtles for a week because it was his trip. And I remember one point sitting on the beach and my kids were building sandcastles in the sand. And I sat there and it moved me to tears because I realized my vision came true, not the way I thought it would. Now that cottage is still a goal. It's still a piece of that puzzle. But we are so tied to how things are going to happen that we forget to leave some of it up to chance, leave some of it up to the universe. The how actually isn't up to us. So I achieved that goal in that moment, not in the way that I thought I was going to achieve it. This is why vision is so important, because you actually cannot control the how. You can't control the how at all. So build a vision that you can emotionally connect to, that's connected to your values, your purpose, your why. I often say, as I work with business owners, and I often say, in some sense, I'm very fortunate because my business is my purpose. And I know a lot of people whose business isn't their purpose, but it fuels their purpose. So create that connection and create that vision that is so deeply ingrained that you would do anything to make that happen. Now, here's the kicker. I'm actually moving off of vision now, even though my talk is from vision to action, because vision is only the starting point. I'm going to throw a Tony Robbins quote up here. It's not about the goal. It's about growing into the person that can accomplish that goal. We're going back to identity. We've talked about identity today. There's no coincidence that we've talked about identity a few times today. I have a feeling it might come up again later. Identity is the kicker. If I didn't shift my identity, before I started my business, during the 2 years my son was going through cancer treatment, shift my identity when I left that coaching job to start my own business, shifted my identity when I decided that I'm going to be the person on stages now. That's how the goal got accomplished. I had to make the decision first. I had to choose who I was going to be first. Mindset. I actually, sometimes when I write this slide, I make mindset 2 words. Mind, set. Your mind is set. You have a habitual way that you react or respond. I'm going to look at you, Ian, because you talked about react and respond before. We react and respond to the world around us. We have, some of us are wearing glasses today. We have a set of glasses that we wear which shows us how we see the world. Those glasses are inside. They're in our subconscious mind. We see the world through our perspective. If you want to change your identity, you not only have to change how you see the world and you perceive the world, you have to change how you perceive yourself, how you perceive your identity, how you perceive what you believe that you are capable of doing. Now, when I first set out my vision, any of my visions, any of my goals, at the beginning I was like, I don't know how I'm going to make that happen, but I want it. Okay, that's good. Let's start there. What do I need to change in my programming in order to become that person? Where is my mindset right now that's actually saying, who do you think you are? Anyone ever heard that voice before? Who do you think you are to do that? You don't know enough. Or my story for most of my life was, it's not that I didn't think I knew enough. I didn't think I was enough. Anyone ever heard themselves say that? You're not enough to do this. That is mindset, and you can change that. It is our programming, and just like we reprogram a computer, which was mentioned today already, we can reprogram our mindset, and we can align it with our vision, and then action becomes inevitable. This is a little, I don't know, has anyone ever seen this figure before? I know some of you in the room. Yeah, Bob Proctor. So when I first came into mindset, I was introduced to mindset through Bob Proctor. And this stick person was introduced to me by Bob Proctor. And the reason I love it is it helps me understand why I am the way that I am, why my beliefs are the way that they are, and how I can change it. So we have a conscious mind. You guys all know that we have a conscious and subconscious mind, right? Yeah, okay, perfect. So we have a conscious mind and a subconscious mind. Our conscious mind has the ability to originate an idea. That's where our vision comes in. It has the ability to accept ideas, and it has the ability to reject ideas when we are aware of this. Most of us growing up in our childhood, we're not actually aware that we have the choice to accept or reject ideas, and we just start accepting all the ideas we hear through experiences, through what our culture, our community, our parents, our teachers, our coaches tell us. So we create, through all of the ideas that we accept, the BS that lives in our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind is where our beliefs live. They're where our identity lives. And our subconscious only has the ability to accept ideas. So whatever ideas that we've unconsciously been accepting for our lives start to live in our subconscious mind. Our subconscious mind, when I heard this, I was like, well, I better learn how to reprogram that thing. It runs 96 to 98% of our lives, unconsciously. I'm going to guess that everyone in this room knows how to drive and probably drove yourself here today or carpooled with someone. Okay. Does anyone remember when you first started to learn how to drive? And like I remember, I was like, okay, got to make sure the mirror's right. Okay, got to adjust the seat, right? Because I'm much shorter than everyone else in my family. Always had to adjust the seat, adjust the rear view mirrors. This was back before things were automatic as well, which I'm sure same as many of you in the room. Didn't have a backup camera when I started driving. So, okay, like you're thinking of every single move you have to make, right? You're driving. Oh, I'm going to change lanes. Put my blinker on, check my blind spot. Is it safe? Then I change lanes. These are all the thought processes that are going into getting you from point A to point B. Now, I'm from Guelph. I'm not familiar with London, so I had to use a little bit of thought process to get here, following my GPS, as we were talking about earlier today. But I didn't have to think about all of those steps. I just automatically do them. When I go to my daughter's daycare, I don't have to think at all. I know exactly the route I'm going to take. I can have conversations. Usually we're singing, belting out K-pop Demon Hunters in the car. Remember, my kids are 6 and 4 now. And I'm getting there fine. I'm not thinking of these things. That is how we reprogram our subconscious mind. It's through the new thought with the action over time. Now, the body and nervous system is very important here too. And I added nervous system in because nervous system is where you go to do the thing that you've never done before, and you actually physically feel it in your body. Has anyone gone to do something that is outside your comfort zone and like maybe you feel like you're gonna throw up? Yeah, me too, okay? That anxiety, like that actual, like the physical feeling of anxiety, that all lives in our body and in our nervous system. So here is where our subconscious mind is actually connected to our body. So the stories that we're accepting to be true about ourselves are going to directly dictate our actions and also directly dictate how we feel about our actions. 2 years ago, I would have been very nervous and shaking on this stage. I would have still done it. Today, much calmer, much more confident. I don't need notes anymore. I know what I'm doing, right? That's through the practice, the repetition of the action. Now, as a self-sabotage coach, this is what I work with. I work with people on their belief system. I work with them on their actions. I have a third piece that is missing from a lot, and it's self-compassion. Because as you are going to change your habits, as you are going to move your vision to action, you got to give yourself more grace because this is something new. We have to stop letting experiences, failures, challenges, feedback mean anything about us. Anyone have anything happen and you're like, oh, that means I suck, right? Like that is your automatic direct reaction. We need to stop allowing ourselves to accept and make things mean something about us. It's all just information that we've been collecting over time. And that's why I love this image, because it gives me grace of being like, oh, right, that BS isn't even mine. I will notice doing stuff like I practice often responding instead of reacting to my children, okay? That is like a big part of my practice. Now, am I perfect? No, because those little buggers know how to test my patience, right? And if my nervous system isn't regulated and they start poking my buttons, I move more towards the reaction than the response, right? And I'm very consciously working towards this. I'll say something and be like, that's my mother. That is my mother's voice coming right through my mouth. And I could not stand when she said that to me when I was growing up. I hope she doesn't see this recording. That's okay. That's programming. But I have the awareness to be like, oh wait, that's not even me. That's not even my BS. That's hers that I'm still carrying. Okay, I'm going to work on healing that story and changing that story. When it comes to taking your vision to action, this is what we need to understand is our conscious mind sets the goal, makes the plan, creates the vision. Our subconscious mind holds the beliefs and identity and decides what feels possible or safe. And the subconscious mind and the identity we hold to be true about ourselves and our subconscious mind will be the biggest obstacle that you face in moving your vision to action. That's okay because we all learned how to drive a car, right? So we can learn how to do this too. Our body and nervous system will respond to threat or safety, and it drives our consistency, our resistance, or our ease. And that's a choice through the stories that we continue to rewrite and we rewire within our subconscious mind. Water break. This is where the self-compassion piece comes in. I want you to know that you are allowed to be both a masterpiece and a work in progress simultaneously. Do it messy. You have a vision. Maybe you don't know how it's all going to come together. You want to know how you're going to learn? By doing it. I have worked with a lot of clients who are perfectionists. Does anyone in this room identify as a perfectionist? I am a recovered perfectionist, happy to say. And the perfectionist needs everything to be perfect before they're going to launch. Perfection is a myth because it's all based on our perception of what is perfect. The only way you're going to perfect anything is by getting feedback. How often have you gone to do something and then you already create the stories of what's actually going to happen before it even happens? Anyone ever done that one before? Yeah, me too. So we actually create feedback before we receive feedback, and then we allow the feedback that we create to mean something about our work or ourselves or our worth or yada, yada, yada. But it's not actually true. The only way we're going to get that feedback is by taking that action, the messy, imperfect action. Say imperfect action is better than no action at all. Now, as a perfectionist, before, when I would say that, I would actually feel like I was going to be physically ill. But I have learned to shift that habit and shift what it means to fail, shift what it means to experience challenges, shift what it means for things not to work out exactly as I think they're going to work out, which you've heard some of my story. A lot of things didn't work out the way I thought they were going to work out. They actually worked out better, oddly enough. Self-perception. So I've heard this mentioned as self-image. That's how this was taught by my mentor, my late mentor, Bob Proctor. I like to say self-perception because I think self-perception takes it to a whole new level. Because we perceive ourselves to be capable of things. We perceive ourselves to be worthy. We perceive. They're not truths, there are perceptions. And we can change those perceptions. You cannot outperform the image you hold of yourself in your subconscious mind. That image is your BS. That's your belief system. That's what you've chosen to accept to be true about yourself. Here's the really cool part about that, though. Because you chose it, you also get to change it. It's not actually yours. You inherited it. I think that's really cool. It can also be really annoying, but it's really cool because that empowers me to know that I can take the action to make those changes. You got to work on your beliefs at the same time as you're working on the habits and working on taking the actions. And you got to give yourself some self-compassion on the road too. Because all of these stories and all of these things that you've perceived to be true about yourself for however many years, and if you want to get into like past generational things, even further back than you've been on this planet, these beliefs have been running the show. Culturally, right? Your self-perception, you can think a way that you feel, but how you actually feel, your emotional connection to yourself and your story is what actually matters. That's why I changed, when I teach this, I changed it from self-image to self-perception. Because for me, image is very two-dimensional. It's, okay, I'm gonna dress better. That was actually the first thing I started to do when I gained my confidence. I just started dressing better. And my confidence changed like that. But I had to go deeper to build the inner confidence. It wasn't enough to just make those changes on the outside. It was the start, just kind of like the vision is the first, it's just the first part. That was the start, but I had to continue to do the inner work to change that self-perception on a subconscious level. And when it changed on a subconscious level, how I actually showed up in the world changed too, because my identity changed. I started making decisions differently. So your self-perception, you want to actually be working on all three planes. How you think about yourself, how you feel about yourself, and how you actually move through the world. And this one's going to be really uncomfortable at the start, okay? It's okay. It does get easier. Your self-image, or as I say, self-perception, sets the boundaries of your accomplishments. If you want to move your vision into action, this is like the one thing that you need to work on. Just start believing in yourself more. Just start feeling like you're more worthy of the goals and the vision that you want to achieve, the things that you want to bring into the world, the impact you want to have. I truly believe that all of our purposes are very similar. We're all put here on earth to serve in some way. I don't know anyone who feels worse after they've helped someone else out. Like even just holding the door open for someone to walk through with their arms full, like with no interaction, don't you feel good? Like our inherent purpose is to serve. And if we want to serve at a bigger level, we need to start to see ourselves on a bigger level, on a higher level. And it starts with how we see and how we feel about ourselves. Motivation is an interesting thing. Now, I actually, I have a subconscious reprogramming program, and I have a lesson all about motivation, because here's the thing. Every single person in this room is motivated by something different. Motivation is personal, but motivation is a feeling, and it can fleet, it can come and go. I have, believe it or not, guys, over the past 5.5 years, I've had a lot of days where I didn't really feel motivated to do it, right? But my identity did not allow me to not take that action. And some days the action looks different. It doesn't have to be this big grand gesture. It can be a small thing. I love how Ian talked about making your bed every morning. I didn't start making my bed every morning until I got into personal development work. Because starting my day with a win, that identity was huge. I never saw myself as a winner. I was a competitive dancer growing up. I was just inherently competitive. And I never came in first, like ever. So I never perceived myself as a winner. One of the best routines that became my ritual that I started doing was every single day I started to acknowledge myself for at least 3 things. Find 3 wins every single day. There are some days where the win is, hey, I made my bed in the morning. That's a win. I started my day with a win. And I started to accumulate the identity of a winner. And when I started to accumulate and embody, that's an important word too, the identity of a winner, I actually became more motivated to win more, right? It's kind of addictive. It's like a dopamine hit, right? We want to win. So your vision matters, okay? Your vision is important, and making sure you have an emotional connection to your vision is key. Because again, life's gonna life. That emotional connection will be what keeps you moving, but who you become and the identity that you embody is what actually matters more. Because that's what's going to allow you to move through the challenges, the ups and downs with more grace, more self-compassion, more self-trust. You build that over time. More resiliency. Oh, sorry, next slide. I'm talking about resiliency too. I want to say we talked about comfort zone today. I actually say our comfort zone, for a lot of people, our comfort zone isn't very comfortable, but what it is it's familiar. And what it is just a room lovingly decorated with our lifelong collection of favorite excuses, which is the BS that we've been carrying. The first time I heard this, I think I've put this quote in pretty much every presentation I've ever done because I think it's brilliant. Because you can actually place yourself in the room and you can be like, why am I still sitting here looking at all these excuses? The door is right there. I'm going to get up and I'm going to walk out of it. That's a choice. But that room, it's got my Snuggie. It's got my heating blanket. It's got a nice warm cup of tea. It's got a book. It's got a little cozy corner. It's so cozy. I don't know what's on the other side of that door, and that's terrifying. But if I want to move my vision to action, I better get my butt up from my beanbag chair and get out that door. I don't actually have a beanbag chair. I just thought that would be kind of funny if I still did. I used to think those were like the coolest thing growing up. That and inflatable couches. Okay, I'm a 90s kid. Just, yeah. So courage is not the absence of fear. Courage is being able to do it anyway. Courage is an attribute that I highly recommend you build into your self-perception. Same with resilience. You know, resilience isn't like I had some resilience before my son got sick, but through that journey, it taught me resilience on a whole new level and what that actually looks like and how that can feel and how I can actually embody that and how I can actually share that with my children. The ripple effect of changing your identity is huge. That kid was the most patient, kind, like actual patient. We got complimented pretty much every time we were in the hospital about how amazing he is. I feel like that's because this is work that I have been doing since I actually got pregnant with him. I made my first investment in a mindset coach when I was 6.5 months pregnant, about to go on mat leave, made 0 sense, but I knew that I needed to make a change, and I knew that it was me who was getting in my own way. And I look at that decision and the ripple effect it had on my life and my family's life, and I actually got to see that ripple effect move into form through him in the 2 years that he underwent the biggest challenge that he'll experience in his life too, with grace, with self-compassion, with patience, with kindness. Yeah, you know, there were moments, there were things that he didn't like, but he always moved through them with that resilience and that grace. That's a choice. So it's not this like big grand moment that you're going to move your vision into action. It is the tiny decisions that you make day after day. The tiny decisions that you make on how to change how you see yourself day after day, how you perceive yourself, how you perceive what is possible for you, changing that day after day while taking the actions, while giving yourself some grace. It's 1% better every day. But it all starts with making a decision that today's the day. Today's the day that I'm going to make a change. Today's the day that I'm going to do something different. It's the moment that you decide to work on your identity, to embody the person who is living the puzzle life, as I'm going to call it, the vision that you've created in your mind, in your imagination. It came to you for a reason, because it's meant for you. So thank you very much. Now, I want to mention, everyone should have a handout. It has my business card stapled to it. It is a bunch of reflection questions. I'm not going to say, don't do this today. Take that home and do it at home, because what I want to give you today is a way to take what I've taught you and actually bring it into your life. Because the information isn't enough. You need to be able to relate it to you, to your vision, to maybe what some of your excuses, some of your BS is. So there's a couple QR codes on there. The QR code at the top will actually give you the Google Doc of that, so you can do this online, just make a copy. There is a QR code on the back of that for a self-sabotage detox course that I have. This is the same QR code. I made a decision last night that I was going to create a coupon code, so if anyone wants to go through that, it's a 3-lesson self-sabotage detox that I created. That coupon code is Growth Day, and that will give you the program for free. So if you want to just jot that down, I did that last night, and so I couldn't actually print it off for you. So I wanted to mention that today. That's all I got. Thank you. Do I have a...
That was fantastic.
Thank
you. Okay.
Bring in my water.
Need that after you guys.
Okay, and now I'm just taking time. It's okay. I know it's only 3 questions. I have to ask 2. Is that okay?
That's